Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at being able to answer questions about graphs. Today's graph is a bar graph, so we're going to work through this problem together. I'll go ahead and read the information. The students in Mr. Wynn's class and Miss Jade's class voted on their favorite cafeteria foods. The results of the vote are shown in the bar graph. So here we have favorite cafeteria food, and that's how it's labeled. We have Mr. Wynn's class on this side and Miss Jade's class on this side. When you have a bar graph, the important thing to do first is to understand it first, okay? So we always need to go back and label what each bar represents. To do that, I need to understand my intervals here, okay? So they have lines drawn, and I'm noticing that first they start with 0, and then they jump to 4, 8, 12. That tells me that they're counting by fours. Now there are lines in between each of those numbers. So if I have 0 here and it jumps to 4, what's half of that? Yes, that would be 2. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of those intervals. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Now I can go into my bars in my bar graph and label each one. So I'm looking at pizza first, and I notice that there are 10 students that chose that one. Nuggets, that's in between 4 and 6. So what would be a number in between 4 and 6? That would be 5. For nachos, we have 8. Now I'm going on to Miss Jade's class. For pizza, that's in between the 4 and the 6. So again, that gives me 5. Nuggets, I have a total of 8. And then nachos, that's in between the 8 and the 10. That represents 9. Now that I understand the bar graph, I can go ahead and look at the questions that they're asking me to solve for. Looking at question 1, it says, how many fewer students in Miss Jade's class chose pizza as their favorite cafeteria food than students in Mr. Wynn's class? So I'm comparing the students that selected pizza. In Mr. Wynn's class, there were 10 students that selected pizza, but in Miss Jade's class, there were only 5. I want to know how many fewer. That tells me that I would have to subtract. So 10 minus 5 would give me 5. I look at my answer choices and notice that my answer is there. And I went ahead and showed my work for that. Okay, looking at number 2. How many students in the 2 classes chose nuggets or nachos? So I'm looking at the 2 classes and those that chose nuggets or nachos. So I'll start with nuggets. I have 5 from Miss Wynn's class, or Mr. Wynn's class, and 8 for Miss Jade's class. I want to know the total. 8 plus 5 gives me 13. Okay, now I'm going to look at the nachos. 8 in Mr. Wynn's, 9 in Miss Jade's. So I'm going to combine those. 9 plus 8 is 17. But then they told me that they want to know how many chose nuggets or nachos. That means the total of students that chose the nuggets and nachos. So I'm going to go ahead and combine that information by adding. 7 and 3 gives me 10. Then I have 3 tenths. That gives me a total of 30. Now remember, I said that the most important part of answering questions to a graph is being able to understand what the graph is representing first before trying to answer those questions.